Hello, my name is Bianca Diabrero, and for my Unit 2 character identity project, I created an Instagram profile for Luella Miller from Mary E. Wilkin Freeman's short story, Luella Miller. I chose Instagram as her platform because it is a space that centers on beauty, connection, and self-presentation, and this does perfectly fit Luella's personality. Throughout the story, she is described as gentle, delicate, and beautiful, but also mysteriously dependent on others. Instagram lets her show that polished, charming surface while hinting at the loneliness and darkness underneath. So on her profile, Luella goes by at luellamiller.03, but in her bio, she invites us to call her Ella. That small detail shows how she tries to seem friendly and relatable, even though her relationships often end tragically. So her bio do list her as a homemaker and a former village school teacher living in Green River Village, Massachusetts. I added a little house emoji because in the story, her house does become quite symbolic as a place where people enter to take care of her, but they never do seem to be able to leave alive. I gave her a birthday of May 6, 1872, which fits the late 1800s New England setting of the story. And her primary language is English, and her relationship status is widowed since her husband, Erastus Miller, was her first caretaker to die after years of exhausting himself looking after her. One of my favorite touches is the Marilyn Monroe quote she posted, which states, "I'm selfish, impatient, and a little insecure, but if you can't handle me at my worst, then you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best." I chose this quote because it captures Luella's emotional tone. It is somewhat self-aware but unapologetic. It shows how she sees herself, not as someone who harms others, but as someone who deserves constant love and attention, even when her behavior drains others. It's both vulnerable and manipulative at the same time, which fits her perfectly. For her posts, I included moments that trace her life in its major events from love to loss. So there is a picture of her wedding dress, which represents her marriage to Erastus, and the photo of him on the rocky coast symbolizes his devotion and ultimately his decline. And it is a post stating that he has passed. And then there's a peaceful tea scene with her sister, Lily, who moves in to care for her and also ends up growing weaker. And finally, there is a photo of the Miller house, reflecting how everyone around her eventually fades away. I also added a soft kind of vintage aesthetic to the feed. I tried making the colors, the flowers more muted, and I tried finding pictures that kind of had this calm aesthetic to show how she hides behind beauty and this kind of like domestic world charm. It's the kind of curated piece you might see on modern influencer accounts, which is ironic because her life is built on tragedy. And I did want her Instagram feed to feel almost too perfect because that is what makes her character so haunting. She would absolutely post poetic captions about love and loneliness, not realizing how her constant need for care affects others. If I were to make a social profile for another character like Lydia Anderson, I'd probably choose Facebook instead. Lydia is practical and outspoken. She does tend to value truth and community gossip more than aesthetics or image. But in contrast, Luella's entire existence depends on appearance and affection, which makes Instagram the ideal fit for her. What readers can still learn from Luella Miller today is that kindness and care can become dangerous when they're one-sided, and placing boundaries is really important. The story and Luella's online persona remind us how emotional dependence can quietly consume relationships. In the age of social media, people like Luella still exist. They seem fragile and sweet, but often take far more energy than they give. Overall, my goal was to show how Luella might present herself if she lived in our world. Beautiful, mysterious, and always in need of someone to look after her. Thank you for listening.